think you know what quiet is? You don't. Quiet is 8,000 faces staring at you from the dark. They call it the Terracotta Army, a city of clay ghosts waiting for an order that never comes. So you have to ask, what kind of man builds an army just to guard his own grave? And what, in God's name, was he so afraid of? So, what is the Terracotta Army? You've seen the pictures, but the pictures lie. They show you statues in a museum. They don't show you the truth. The truth is a city of the dead, a subterranean metropolis of 8,000 life-sized clay soldiers, buried with one man. A general, his officers, his kneeling archers, his cavalry, his horses, an entire empire's military force recreated in perfect, silent, terrifying detail. But this wasn't a discovery. It was an interruption. For 2,000 years, they stood in perfect pitch-black silence until a farmer's shovel in 1974 cracked the seal. A single clay finger reaching from the earth, then a head, then a face, then the truth. Row after row after endless row, stretching into a darkness that had held its secret for 22 centuries. This wasn't a tomb. This was a fortress. This wasn't just a mob of statues. It was a case. The deeper you look, the stranger it gets. You move between the rows, and the silence is claustrophobic. You see the detail on the armor, the intricate top knot in a soldier's hair, the terror frozen in a warhorse's eye, the tension in a crossbowman's grip, the focus of a kneeling archer ready to fire. This wasn't art. This was a military force organized and waiting. This level of control, this obsession, it all points to one man, the mastermind, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, a man who didn't just conquer his enemies. He tried to conquer history itself, burning the books of the past, a tyrant who built the Great Wall on a river of bones, a man so terrified of his own end, he drank pure, liquid mercury, hunting for an elixir of life that would never come. This was not a man who would go quietly into the grave. His plan was a dark mirror of the cosmos, a blueprint of his own personal underworld, complete with rivers of silver poison. He didn't just want a guard, he built a factory for his obsession. In workshops lit like hell, artisans carved his army from the earth, thousands of heads shelved like trophies waiting for thousands of headless bodies on a macabre assembly line. They were finished in the fire, an army born of clay and the emperor's will. And then, one by one, they were lowered into the dark, a secret burial for a secret war. The plan was precise, the army facing east, a fortress for his tomb. He watched his grand design take shape, and as his army descended into the earth, he drank his own poison, his mind fracturing with paranoia, haunted by the very history he tried to erase. He was a god, collapsing into his own dark creation. And when the madness was finally sealed, all that was left was the silence and the faces. This is where the true dark purpose reveals itself. This is the heart of the case. Look at the faces. They aren't just detailed, they are different. Every single one. This wasn't mass production. This was a binding, a mustached veteran, a younger, broader-faced soldier, and for a second, you see it, a flicker, a ghost in the machine, the living, breathing man, his soul trapped inside the clay. The emperor, in his madness, didn't want statues of his army. He believed that by capturing a man's perfect, unique likeness, he could steal the man himself, a kneeling archer, his focus, his soul, locked on a target that isn't there, a general, his imperious gaze, his will, captured and frozen in clay. This was a psychological prison. He wasn't just building a guard, he was taking 8,000 souls with him. So they stand, bound to this dark eternity. Their hands are empty, but they're still on duty. You see them, the ghost of the rain still held taut. They are trapped, holding on to weapons of dust, forced to serve one man's ego for all time. But the emperor's obsession, it went deeper. His artisans were forced to capture total reality. They painted the soldiers in vibrant, living colors, a life that now only exists as a ghostly flash of pigment. They carved unique, perfect treads on the bottoms of the boots, a detail no one on earth was ever meant to see. This was the most perfect, handcrafted secret in history, and secrets have a price. What happened to the 700,000 workers, the thousands of master artisans who knew the tomb's layout? The historian Sima Qian wrote that when the tomb was sealed, the emperor's son gave the final order. The inner gates were locked. Every last worker was trapped and buried alive, silenced forever. The prison was complete, a dark, shattered world built by men who were forced to join their creations in the dark. And so, the army and its creators were sealed in the same tomb, victims of the same obsession. The evidence of this dark final act is everywhere. This isn't just a museum, it's a mass grave. You see the shattered fragments, the fingers, the faces, broken and scattered in the dust. You see the cold, slow passage of time, an ancient tree root wrapping around a soldier's ankle, locking him in a second prison. A single drop of water falling, ticking away the centuries, slowly eroding the clay. Entire sections have collapsed, a jumbled chaos of limbs and horses. The army and the ghosts of its creators decaying together. This is the sound of that tomb, the empty space between the soldiers, the dust motes, swirling in the dead, silent air, the long, empty shadows on the floor. This is the silence of those 700,000 souls, trapped and forgotten. And still, the army stands. They stare forward, into the blackness of the eastern wall, forever watching, forever waiting. Their gaze fixed on the ghostly, superimposed image of the one man who put them there. They are his prisoners, his army, and his final, terrifying secret. This is their eternal duty. From the general looking over the backs of his men, to the foot soldier, to the archer, every single unique face is fixed forward, staring into the same oppressive darkness. They are a wall, a perimeter, and they are all guarding him. The architect, the mastermind. There he is. Emperor Qin Shi Huang in his imperial crown, a cold, static, imperious god in his own dark story. His army guards his final secret, the tomb. The massive, grass-covered mound, a silent pyramid in the moonlight, still sealed, still unopened. His soldiers stare, their duty unbroken. Their master sits on his dragon throne, a silent, motionless figure of absolute control. A man whose will was so total he believed he could bind 8,000 souls to his own. We see the God's eye view of his creation, the endless, inhuman, perfect ranks. And then we see the man, the paranoid, haunted glare. The face of a man who built a prison for thousands only to become a prisoner of his own dark, eternal obsession. And so their vigil continues. A relentless, silent, forward stare. We see the reason for it all. A flashback to the emperor, a cold, static god. Watching his artisans, he forced them to build a perfect world. A living world, painted in vibrant, forgotten colors. A world he could steal and take with him. But that was not enough. His obsession demanded silence. An army on an inhuman scale. A silent, waiting weapon. All born from the cold, paranoid, and eternal glare of one man. His prisoners obey. They stare forward, into the black void, guarding his final greatest secret, the mound, his tomb, a massive silent pyramid of grass still unopened. And so we are left with this, one single face, one prisoner, staring forever. We push past his gaze into the dark, hollow, unseeing eye, and into the one, final, cold, unanswered question. After 2,200 years of silence, what in God's name is he still guarding?